Now previously, I have been careful about releasing information and opinions on the new Sonos Sub Mini, and I've withheld some footage of the Sub Mini launch event that I attended. But today, I've decided to share it with you all, and I have to cut some of the music which was played because of copyright issues, but you can be sure you will get every single second of all the videos I have taken at the launch event itself of the Sonos Sub Mini. Now, before we go on to that, let me just clear the air on a couple of issues which I think everybody needs to know. Now, I may not have been very clear in my previous videos, and I want to make sure that you get the correct information before you make your decision whether to buy or not to buy the Sonos Sub Mini. Now, upfront summary for you if you don't have time to stay for the rest of the video. First, the Sonos Sub Mini is a sealed subwoofer, not a ported one like the Sonos Sub Gen 1, Gen 2 or the Gen 3 before that. Second, the Sub Mini cannot be paired with another Sub Mini or regular sub for a dual sub configuration setup. Now that's it. These are the two important points for the upfront summary. Now, if you'd like to skip to the footage of the Sonos Sub Mini launch event towards the end of the video, go right ahead now. But if you have just another 2 or 3 minutes more, I'd like to go into a little bit more in depth for these 2 points of clarification to give you more information. Now first, the Sub Mini is a sealed subwoofer. I spoke a little bit too fast in my previous video and said that the Sub Mini is the first subwoofer that Sonos is releasing that is not sealed. I meant it is the first sealed subwoofer. Now thanks to a viewer for catching that so that I can make a clarification there. I do apologize. I'm sorry if I confuse anyone with a misplaced word. The rest of the Sonos Subs Gen 1 through 3 are all ported subs. The Sub Mini is a sealed sub. Now, on to the second point of clarification. You know how sometimes you have this idea or notion in your head, and you're pretty sure that it has been clearly communicated to everybody else, and you're assuming that everyone knows it, but you're wondering why everyone is acting or questioning like they don't. Now, that's the feeling that I have when you guys are asking me in the comment section down below about pairing the Sonos Sub Mini into a dual sub configuration. Now, at the launch event, I asked a question on whether the Sub Mini could be paired in a dual sub configuration. The response I had was, the regular bigger sub will outperform 2 Sub Minis, so the recommendation will be just to go for the bigger sub if you want 2 Sub Minis in the first place. Now that made sense, and I assume that meant you can't pair the Sub Mini into a dual sub configuration. But like how they're saying that they're not listing the Sonos Arc pairing with a Sub Mini because of the logic of pricing, but it doesn't mean that you can't do it. You can. And when I made a video about that, citing that response, I realized that I also carried that carefully crafted messaging through my video. It should have been a lot clearer. Now, a quick check on the Sonos website on the Sonos Sub Mini FAQ section, as shown here in the screenshot, you cannot pair the Sub Mini into a dual sub configuration. Now, previously, before the introduction of the Sub Mini, it was pretty clear you can only set up a dual sub configuration for your Sonos home theater setup with 2 regular size subs. Now, you just need to know that as long as you have at least a Sub Gen 3, you can go dual sub. Now, I have put up this chart here to my patrons on Patreon account earlier, but I will share this with you guys now in this video. Now, in the columns and the rows, you'll see all the possible combinations which you can configure a dual sub setup. So if you have a Sub Gen 3, you can pair it with any other regular size sub. Now, if you don't, then you can't. You're out of luck. Now, with the introduction of the Sub Mini, that changes just a little bit. Now, even if you have a Sub Gen 3, you cannot pair a Sub Mini into a dual sub configuration with a Sub Gen 3. And more importantly, you can't pair 2 Sub Minis either. Now, I hope this clears the air. Any questions, please give me a shout out in the comment section down below. So now that these 2 important points have been covered, I will leave you with the video footage of the Sub Mini that I have taken during the product launch. Now note that I have removed the sound and the demo music which was played to avoid any copyright issues. But you should be able to feast your eyes on previously unreleased footage. Just note that the music played is not from the Sonos Beam Gen 2 or the Sonos One that was demoed with the Sub Mini. Yep, they demoed those two configurations. Now, I hope you have enjoyed this video that I took. Even if they're not of the highest quality, I'm sorry about it. If you can't get enough of the Sub Mini, check out this video which I talk about the secrets of the Sub Mini. I promise you information about the Sub Mini that you have probably not heard of before. Unless, of course, you have already watched the video. But then again, what's stopping you from watching that again? I'll see you over in that video.